Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and beer. It's episode 312. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with Aadil.
Hey!
And Lucy.
Hi.
We're rolling straight into this episode after 311. If you have joined us recently and you're a new listener, we record 2 episodes in one night. So you get 2 podcasts kind of for the price of one. Almost. Not that you pay for any of this. But we're going to launch into some beers, as we do to start off our show. Yeah, actually, I pay for this as well. Let's open some beers. Lucy sticking off the beers again for the episode. So I'm going to launch into my second beer for the evening. But only beer, I suppose, for 312. This is from Left-Handed Giant. It's a beer brewed at their brew pub rather than at the brewery. It's their export porter. It's 6%, and I believe is it a collaboration? There's a logo on the front of it that says Tilly's. So inspired by export porters of the mid-19th century, we have created a beer with notes of coffee, toasted hazelnut, and a whole hedgerow in the palate. After creating a complex malt base, we added a dry hop of UK Cascade for a little modern twist. It says nothing about what Tilly's might be. It could be that, you know, the logo is some hops, it looks like. Maybe that's where they've got their hops from. Maybe they had some people from there that helped them brew the beer. But I picked this up after reading A Year in Beers March chapter, Johnny Garrett's new book. Which I'm kind of reading through each month as it happens, and there was a lot of chat about porters around about March. And I thought, yeah, perfect. I'll jump onto one. Sort of, will it be? Yes, there it is. Perfect.
Yeah,
I really need to pick that up. You guys make me jealous.
It's a good read. It's good. It delves into sort of a decent amount of variation in what he's talking about. It's not just March is good for these beers. It goes into like food pairings. It talks about sort of a beer historically at that time of year. You know, there's tons of stuff that he really kind of delves into. So yeah, it's good.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to pour an export porter.
You're going to pour expertly.
Well, I'm not. Look at that. Already instantly ruined on my pour. Aadil, what are you drinking tonight?
I've got the Nesta Tropical Foreign Extra Stout by Bravarlotny, bottled by Trzek. Oh, I'm going to mispronounce this Polish name. Kumpli. It's Polish. It's a lovely can.
Yeah.
So tropical is in brackets, and then it's a foreign extra stout. And get ready for some flavored text. Stout, a top fermented dark beer coming directly from porter, has been brewed since the 17th century. The word foreign meant that its export version, while extra indicated that it was a stronger variant of beer, thanks to which it had a greater chance of surviving a sea voyage. As early as in the 18th century, FES sailed from the British Isles, and from the beginning of the 20th century, from New York to the Caribbean. In this warm and humid climate, it was valued, paradoxically, for its body and alcohol power. No wonder that Jamaicans themselves started brewing tropical stout commercially in the 1920s. In Nesta, expect the aromas of roasted grain, chocolate, coffee, as well as fruitiness. The latter comes from the work of yeast, as we gave it a bit of a warmer environment this time. Semicolon, close parentheses. We saturated this beer with nitrogen to make it velvety and to obtain a beautiful fine bubble foam. Be sure to pour it vigorously. Cheers, and one love.
That sounds very good.
Yeah.
Like the nitrogen in that.
Yeah, so it's a nitro, it's 6%, its original extract is 16.5%. I'm excited about this beer.
Yeah, because I was like, I haven't heard tropical stout in a long time. Yeah. Or black IPAs, those have fallen out of favour.
They seem to have, haven't
as
they?
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I love a
I
black
don't think
IPA.
I poured vigorously enough.
I mean,
No, you need to shake the can first.
but I didn't either, and it's just bwoof in the in my glass.
It's just a honeycomb on top of your beer.
Yes. For those of you just joining us for this episode, I've got a bit of a cold, so I can't give, more nasal notes because I'm not getting very much at all, and it's going to be a bit difficult. I had to sup some foam as it was rising kind of through the glass, quite a ridiculous speed. I'll try and get my face in to taste it. Kind of as you would expect with a porter, incredibly dark, a little thin, kind of in its body. But it's very light, like incredibly light. It's not a big, thick, viscous beer. It's not watery, but it has it's kind of maybe medium bodied. It's just a little lighter than medium bodied, but you definitely get that hazelnut in there. That kind of cuts through everything quite nicely. And then there's those more deeper roasted coffee notes in there as well. If they'd have said this was a stout instead of a porter, I would have absolutely have said, yep, like definitely. It feels like that as well. Again, talking about Johnny Garrett's book, there's not a huge amount of difference, at least historically, between porters and stouts. A little bit of ABV potentially. As we've kind of talked about, more modern porters tend to sway a little bit more sweeter, and you don't get that with this porter. This one is deeper. It's a little bit more heavy in those roasted notes, so the coffee comes through. That lovely hazelnut is sat in there as well. But it says that there's a whole hedgerow in the palate, and I'd be interested in what they mean by that, because it has this almost not like hoppy bitterness, but there's
Sprucey?
No, it's not even. It's not kind of sprucey. It's not kind of piney. There's a bitterness in here, but it's not there. It's not quite as earthy as that. It's a little lighter and very difficult to describe, especially as my nose is just like. I'm kind of like have to talk and breathe like. So it's very difficult to know what the whole hedgerow they describe is kind of bringing, but a bitterness at the moment is what I'm getting from it. So yeah, but I love a bitterness. It's a nice easy beer for me to drink.
What was the percent on that again?
6.
Okay.
Yeah, 6.
Deals. All right. Interesting.
Yeah, Aadil, how about the Nesta?
Oh, ooh, that nose. So it I didn't have a vigorous pour. It what head there was died really well, but it's got great lacing. That nose, I think they said on the tin, roasted grain chocolate coffee. That roasted grain, there's a graininess to the like normally on stouts, when you have a roasted malty note, it's very much in the coffee sort of category. Mm-hmm. This is definitely roasted grain. Like you're getting a wheatiness under, and not too much burnt, but just like a rounded wheatiness, some sweetness. Really interesting. I don't know if I've smelt a beer quite like this one.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. I'm gonna have to let that coat my mouth for a second, but it's got that almost aspartame-y acridness that you get in some more roasted stout, which is really nice because it's sitting there. It's not too strong, but it's just giving a nice, really strong, long finish.
Mm-hmm.
Off the top, it's a bit sweet, nice and lightly fruited. I want to say like somewhere. It's like it's a type of berry and I can't think of. It's like A small red berry, so not too tart, and that's mixing really well with the chocolate and the coffee notes. So you're getting more of like a raw coffee bean out of it rather than like
Okay.
a roasted coffee bean.
Hmm.
And then when that subsides, you're getting this, like I said, slightly acrid roasted character that's lingering. It's a bit. It leaves them out wet, but that acridness is a bit. I want to have more because I want to hide something in that, but I'm
Okay.
hoping that I'll just get used to it because I've only had a few sips and it's been a
Mm.
while. But that would be my one complaint right now is that acridness. Everything else is so sort of light, nuanced, slightly fruity from a stout's perspective. And yeah, like it's 6%. It doesn't taste boozy, but it tastes strong like you want a stout too. It has that thicker viscosity from a 6% beer. But yeah, already actually I'm noticing I'm getting used to that acridness is starting to fade, and that's exactly what I want because I want to sip this. I want to have that surge, and I want to be able to like pay attention to those fruited, like I said, not processed coffee bean type flavors, and not have to cover anything up or rush through that. So, well, hopefully, but again, that's my one worry. Again, early seconds.
Yeah. Fair. We'll return to these beers at the end of the episode to give some final notes on. But we'll jump into our gaming chats for this episode. And there's one game to talk about, which I haven't played, but Lucy and Aadil have been getting into, which is Elden Ring. So I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to let you tell me all about George R.R. Martin's contribution to video games.
I totally forgot he was involved.
I did as well. He's not involved, you know. And thank God, because from what I've seen of the show, thank God. It'll be like I'm fighting this dragon, and suddenly a brothel scene appears for no reason.
Like a flashback.
So thank God he's not involved.
I played this on stream yesterday for 2.5-ish hours, and I have seen like Jim Sterling's review and a couple other like I think I saw Donkey's like stream or not stream his like YouTube video where it was just a bunch of random things. I know the basics of the game as a Souls-like. I've heard people talk about how you kind of do everything or anything, and like what you don't want to do. I got tripped up by 2 or 3 people saying what you don't want to do is follow the directions and go straight into the castle. Well, it turns out a lot of buildings look like castles if you don't know the scale of the game, and I kind of missed the majority of the beginning.
But that's fine, you know.
Well, it is
It's genuinely fine. Yeah.
So it's a Souls-like. I just want to before we go into the details, I just want to describe what I found out later was if you have to follow the critical path that they are literally pointing you at to go to 1 or 2 specific spots to trigger the lady who enables the plot to allow you to level up. So I was killing things and getting runes and then being like, how the fuck do I level up? I don't understand. This is so ridiculous. And then losing them and then dying and then coming back. And it was just like totally lost. And even the first guy, like you go up an elevator and you go into the plains and there's a dude and he's like, I'm going to tell you about the world. Somehow I missed him and went right for a good hour and like fought a bunch of things. I saw a crab and I'm like, I'm going to kill this crab. And I killed this giant fucking crab. And it took me a few attempts, and there's these weird poison beasts, and I learned the mechanics of the game. I've never done a Souls-like, and it was really fun. I wish I knew that I could have not lost a lot of runes because I was just stockpiling them because I couldn't do anything with them. And so it's a Souls-like game, so you die, you drop your shit. You have to get to the place you dropped it to pick them up. if you die between them, they go forever. So I lost thousands of runes of progress because I didn't know what to do, and I kind of stumbled into figuring out how to level up.
Yep. Okay.
Also, that means I didn't get the horsey until
I didn't
2
get the
hours
horsey
in.
for a few hours, but
Yeah.
I think both things are valid depending on where you're coming from. And I like that the game, especially games nowadays that have such bad tutorials, lengthy, overwrought tutorials, and it's just like, just let me play the goddamn game. I like that this doesn't hold your hand, and I think people can also be like, look, just throw me a bone here from software. It's like, I've been playing this game, I'm 70 hours in, and but it's like, there are some things where it's like, okay, I happen upon an item and it's like, remembrance duplicator, and I'm like, okay, what the hell is that? And the text box that comes up, it says, this is where you duplicate remembrances. It's like, I don't know what any of these things are. You can't tell me that this describe something in a way using the exact same words. I'm just like, come on. But I still like the fact that it's like, okay, you have to figure these things out on your own, and it's a real sense of adventure. I have just completely ignored all the discourse about this game before it released, when it came out, and everything after, because either you're a weird gatekeeping Souls fan, or you like these games, which is perfectly fine. And it's like, the thing is that when people really like things, they get very excited about them and like to ruin them. So it's just like, I'm ignoring everything, So, because this is one of the few games that I've played in my life where everything feels like, it's like, what is the possibility when I go crest this hill, or go over to this place or this dungeon? What could be lurking down there? What is waiting for me? And it's genuinely exciting like that. And I haven't felt that kind of experience since Breath of the Wild. Okay. And this is in terms of like a world I want to get lost in, and this completely surpasses that game for me. I've turned off multiplayer, which makes you see messages from other people in the game. I couldn't think of anything worse. People trolling you.
Can you turn that shit off?
Yeah, you just play offline. I played it from the start, and I've never played a Souls game either. I only know through osmosis about just the main touch points and what they are. I've never physically played one myself, and I think playing this game has reaffirmed the belief that I wouldn't like those other games, because I couldn't imagine going through the same corridor, fighting the same enemies over and over again to get up to the same boss that one hit kills you every time.
Yeah.
Whereas this game lets you just go explore and level up,
do whatever you want.
Yeah. And it's huge. It is a huge game. I can't fathom how big it is.
Yet it's smaller than a lot of other games.
I mean, probably by like mileage, yeah, probably. But
that's what I want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But there's literally, and every little corridor that you go down, and every little area, it has its own, like, kind of, it's like these very different little microcosms where you can go somewhere where you just think, oh, I'm just gonna go to this shack or something, or this cathedral, and there's this whole combat encounter with these different enemies and stuff like that, and it keeps surprising you. Like, it's like, okay, I've seen this type of enemy, I know how to deal with them, I'll just slash them to death with my katana, done. But then it's like, okay, this enemy suddenly has a different attack pattern because they have a different weapon, or they have a different status effects because it's that part of the world, and it just continually surprises you all the time, and you have to be on your guard at all times. There's no let up in this game, and that's what's so exciting and fun about it.
And that's the thing that I had to learn, because even in the same it's such a dynamic. I'm starting to understand why people like Souls-likes, because like you can go to the same dungeon after a bit, and you've lost a bit of the muscle memory, or you're like, oh yeah, this is the early part, and so much of it is memorizing patterns. And even if you've done it before, you're like, how the fuck did that imp stab me? I've killed 50 of these in a row without getting touched, but I blinked and this one hit me, and oh my god, that sucks because I really need that sliver of health because I'm still trying to figure out this next chunk of the dungeon or cave or whatever you want to call it. And it's
you can get like one hit still by like lower, smaller mobs and enemies. As if they walk right around you, you're done.
Oh, fucking yeah.
It does have that bullshit in the game where it's like I clear out a room and then something just materializes behind me and just one-shots me. It has that kind of. There are frustrating parts like that. Sometimes it's genuinely funny, and sometimes it's like, okay, I wasn't paying attention, and sometimes it's just like it feels a bit cheap.
Yeah. I listened to the latest episode of Waypoint Podcast. They've talked about Elden Ring quite a lot, so I've kind of absorbed Elden Ring almost through osmosis through their kind of playthroughs and things. It's interesting to hear kind of what your take is.
I want to listen to. I want to hear their take, but I skip it all.
Saying. But the latest episode is an interview with the guy who is making or has made Tunic. And
I listened to that one.
Yeah, they talk a lot about that sense of surprise and excitement and wonder as you're going around a world and exploring it. And they don't mention Elden Ring a huge amount. Patrick Klepek does a little because he's he enjoys Souls games and he's been playing that quite a lot, but kind of what they're trying for with something like Tunic is to allow you to explore a world and have that sense of kind of wonder and surprise and excitement in the exploration and being able to move through space and just be like, yeah, cool, I'm just going to go over here and see what's happening over here, and then having that little bit of surprise again and that sort of thing. And that's very, very appealing as I think
you'd love it
as a basis for a game.
Yeah, I think you'd love it because it has a grand sense of scale. Like you go to these castles and they're just towering there, and the way the camera sometimes just pans behind the character a bit lower down, and it just gives everything an even better sense of scale. And you're like, what is this? Where am I?
Also, even in these earlier dungeons that I'm in, because I'm less than 10 hours into the game, there are spots where the wall, you're in a cave. You've gone down in a cave, but there are spots where the wall goes up, and actually there's an enemy clinging to a wall. And it trains you, or you run past a dragon in a lake, and then you run under a big sort of cavernous, like you're running through into a valley, and it's got a top, and turns out there's skeletons hanging from the top that they just drop down and fuck you up. But if you had looked up, you would have seen them from a while away hanging, and the game has really good training for
Absolutely.
Hey, this might matter. And so now I'm using the camera a lot more to check out my surroundings, and I'm playing a one-handed rapier and a little staff duel. Very class canon-y.
Which class did you pick? I don't know. Another thing with the onboarding in this game, it doesn't really tell you the difference between classes and what they do.
Yeah, that was my big complaint on the stream. Was I sat there and it's here, and then it took me. I just kind of jammed some buttons and found some tooltips that explained what all the stats were. So it was okay, this guy has these stats. These stats mean this thing. I don't really know what the impact on the game is. Oh, that didn't help that much. Oh, also, why is this class starting at level 11 and this class starting at level 9?
Oh, really?
And this one on level 5?
I don't know. I picked a bandit because I was like, they might move quickly. And I'm playing as a crusader. I've got this heavy chainmail on and this this
nice.
Heavy helmet, and I've got a big ass shield and a katana. So it's
So
I
what I
don't
like,
know why.
I think part of it is that like your stat differential isn't that big of a deal. So you don't. It doesn't
So
really
far it
matter what
isn't,
your starting stats are. You can kind of within like 10, 12 levels. It seems like technically there might have been like 3 stats that you could be optimizing slightly better by end game, but like it doesn't seem like it'll functionally matter. I picked prisoner.
Okay.
Because
I don't know what that means, but okay.
so it was high dex, high int, and
Okay.
you had a funny helmet that make you look like a weird metal goblin person.
Ooh.
That's why I picked it. But it also allows me to wear, like, I started out being able to wear slightly heavier armor, I guess. I don't know. But, like, I got a rapier. Cool. I love dex weapons. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. I don't, like, and I have a staff, and it does a ranged, weird shooting blue sword spell. Yep.
Like,
Neat.
block things with
So you can swap the
shield.
staff out with a shield.
Yeah, but I can't.
Then I
do
realized
that,
I'm
man.
very bad at that thinking on the fly, and so now I'm primarily trying to learn how to dodge because I don't think I'll be parrying because I'm spellcasting.
I parry
with my left
everything.
hand.
Yeah, because
And
I'm
so
like, I don't know how people play it without a shield. I couldn't. I'd get stomped into the ground immediately.
Well, and so it was very like even the beginning of the stream where I wandered off and didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Also, the fact that X is use your potion has been killing me. Because your potions only renew when you go to a heal point, and you have 2 of them. And I immediately go, oh, an enemy! Drink my potion. Fuck. Like, the triggers, I get why they are your attacks, but I don't control her that much, and I've never played a game with this move set. So even now, 10 hours in, I'm still drinking potions randomly by accident.
Yeah, games, more modern games are moving to those triggers being those attack options a lot. Horizon does it. I think it started first with like Assassin's Creed Origin potentially was one of the first, which again is like.
But it actually feels good here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like when I'm not like when my brain isn't like, yes, this is the attack button, press this, and I'm like, I want to do this heavy. There's like 3 attacks. It makes sense that they're on the triggers and stuff. It means I can dodge and hit attack with 2 different buttons. Great. I get it. My brain is not well wired with controllers to begin with. This is... It also, like, things like... I'm going to roll back because we're talking about controllers. I fucking hate the onboarding for things like, hey, click your right stick to lock on. Oh no, there's 5 guys. Oh, I locked on the wrong guy. He retreated. Now I'm getting owned. Oh, it turns out flipping the right stick will move your target. How do you know? Oh, you figure it out by trial and error.
It does. There is a you know.
You don't lose track of the critical path, and they tell you eventually, but it's been 2.5 hours, and you have to figure it out the hard way. Which
Aadil, I don't care about your problems because guess what? It took me 65 hours to remember I could run.
Oh no!
I've been playing in the game in super hard mode. So you not knowing how to switch your camera, I forgot that you had the ability to run. So I've been walking everywhere.
Oh well, if you're at 70 hours walking, you're only at like 35 hours regular.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, so people talk like I don't think that's a good design. Not onboarding basic like if I've not.
I think
played
it does. To be fair, I think that's in the tutorial. I just forgot. That's a me thing, and it's quite funny.
So I guess I love the openness. I love the fact that I lost track of the critical path. I don't like the fact that because I did that, and like it seems like either have it so that the lady visits you and says, now you can level up at any place where you save.
Yeah.
Or
she only appears on bonfire at night. It was like I only happened across that by.
I think it's one of 2 bonfires because I looked it up afterwards, and I feel like given that I cannot actually progress in the game, you've given me the open world at the wrong time, or you need to really signpost a lot more than follow the yellow arrow.
Yeah,
because the whole point of this game is, look at that, like. The first thing I did was miss the first guy. My fault. Fine. and then find a lake with a goddamn giant dragon in it, and realize I was boned, but then grinded my way against realized that I'm very bad at the combat and died to a bunch of dogs, and then killed a giant crab. That was great. But you know what I couldn't do with all that information? Anything else in the game to progress.
That's the thing. I think both arguments are valid. The two aren't mutually exclusive.
No.
It's like, I love how open it is and like how it doesn't hold your hand, and also it's like, yes, there should be better signposting.
And I think the key is the first 10-15 minutes, or I don't think large pieces of gameplay should be locked behind critical junctures that you could easily miss. Or at least the piece of gameplay can't be how to progress in the game.
Well, lots of all of the Souls games, I mean, it might not be all of them, but they start you off with that kind of like that first 15 minutes. Here is the initial sort of thrust of what you're doing. Here is a ridiculous boss which is going to kill you in 3 swipes. You've died. Now you've actually kind of started the game, but we've given you just a little hint of what you should be doing.
Oh, there definitely was the auto death boss fight, which I was like immediately fucked up and got hit twice, and I was like, auto dead guy, I don't feel so bad, but also I didn't learn anything about the control scheme, and that's fine.
But so it sounds like you that from that experience you needed that to be that little bit bigger. Not an hour of being gated in sort of corridors and stuff before the open world. Unlike some games which are like, go through all of this stuff and now you're in the open world, hooray. But you needed just a little bit more potentially, or at least where some of those elements or tooltips and things were introduced to you to have been,
I guess,
just bundle that all in the first 15 minutes and then let them go nuts instead.
I think there are tooltips on like weird mechanics and like using the inventory and stuff that just trigger when you use them. It's weird when you have to go to a spot to learn how to do a basic thing. And again, I think it's if you emerge into the world, you go up the elevator, you leave the cave, and you see the guy, and he says, follow the yellow arrows to your destiny. And you're like, I would like to do that now. First hour's fine. And you'll learn all these things. Yep. And my point is, the problem is when I leave that cave is when you've given me access to the whole world. And I chose, I didn't. I was so enamored with the world. I'm like, let's go right, that I missed the guy. And that's me, and most people probably won't. So I'll own that, like, there was signposting, but the fact that, I don't want to keep beating this dead horse, but like, not even just the leveling up mechanic, but just certain things were like sprinkled along the next 15 minutes. If that's what you want to do, and that's like here's how the game works, give me a corridor before I enter the world. It's not even because it's not even about timing. Like, I guess that's why I was bursting when you like.
You did do the tutorial, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And then I left the tutorial, and I missed I didn't do what they wanted me to do to learn the rest of the game. And I think that's the thing is, I think the average person won't have the problem. So like, I think they've done those sort of, maybe not the average person, I'm just saying their first hour and a bit, tutorial and post-tutorial, are fine if you keep on the critical path. But the whole point, especially once it hits the discourse that this is an amazing open world, fuck yeah, I'm going to just not worry about the critical path. Because people have told me that I don't need to right now. And so I've missed vital things. And like, that's the thing I don't like is
I get
basic mechanics.
I'm just less hung up on it because it's like, you learn things eventually, like through, just sheer attrition, or, just, you get so frustrated maybe that you just look online. But it's like, I'm just very much like, I don't want to know anything about this game. I'm not going to look up online. And it's been more enriching for me because it's like, okay, I don't know what this item does. I don't know what this option does. I don't even know that I can run. But the game is so open and flexible where it's like those things just don't matter for the most part. And it's like, I'm just having my own cool adventure. I mean, someone like you, Aadil, who can tend to min-max things and poke at systems and stuff like that. I understand why that is frustrating, and I think that's perfectly valid, and I don't think he would have been the only one. And I do agree, like maybe that dude should have been standing inside the dungeon right there in front of you before you go out into the open world, because he's like in a white robe and it's like very sunshiny out when you step outside the thing.
And
he is quite hard to see
around, right? Because like this world is so cool. But also, I want to just like be clear that I really like this game, and that's my biggest complaint. It's not a big complaint; it's my biggest complaint.
Yeah. I've got bigger complaints than that, with the fact that you can't pause the game even when you're playing offline.
Sorry, that is my biggest complaint, because
that's unforgivable.
Yells, and I just hope, right, that things will be okay.
And if your controller runs that, and it's a case of like, okay, add a package one day, and it's like, okay, I can't play Elden Ring for this hour because if at any point I need to stop playing, I'm not going to be able to. I might lose 20,000 runes or something. Yeah.
Would it pause if you come back into the Xbox sort of like home screen?
I don't know.
I don't think it does.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, when you're going through like your inventory and stuff, like it doesn't pause. It's just unforgivable.
But like if you you get to a point.
I know what you're talking about. If you go to the home screen,
you're like
something
cool.
worth trying out.
There's an enemy up here. I've got to go out in 5 minutes. I'm not going to engage with them. I just want to stop at this point. I can't pause it and leave it there. But jump to the home screen, and then shut your Xbox down. Because does the game suspend its state in that kind of way that it is a pause screen almost?
I don't know. Yeah. That's the thing. It might do. I don't know, and it's sad that I even have to figure it out.
That sort of doesn't change the bigger problem.
It's stupid, especially when you're playing offline, as I am.
Yes.
And the frame rate is god awful.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's bad. It's like it drops all the time.
Oh.
And when it's raining, it's like Jesus Christ. It just that sucks. To be fair, in combat it holds up. But when you're going around the open world, sometimes it just stutters.
No, really? Because that's what you want, right? Yeah. Going around the open world, you want it to be lovely and smooth and seamless and everything to just look fantastic. Because, as you guys have said about that sense of scale, suddenly you come around a corner and there's this castle in front of you, and you just look up and it goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. You don't want to look up and be like, hut. And for it's a little bit kind of juddery.
It's not too bad, but it's noticeable enough, and it's like, I mean, they're notoriously bad at optimizing their games, and apparently it's worse on PC.
I think
I'm playing it on a Series X.
Yeah, I think it's almost been built for PS5.
Frame rate performance.
From what I've seen, PS5 is the
it's all
best,
bad.
Version
apparently, if you play the PS4 Pro version on PS5, that is the best version on its console. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous.
But again,
watch the Digital Foundry thing.
It's the size of these games, right? The amount of popping of textures and stuff I'm getting on Horizon Forbidden West is nuts. That's a massive game. That game is fucking huge. I'm on a original PS4. Yes.
Yeah, I'm playing on the Series X. And to be fair, there's not much pop in the draw distance. It's really good, which helps for like I can see an enemy way off in the distance, or these castles and landscapes. It's a good looking game. Like, the art isn't incredible, but I think what they've done with it looks really good. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame. It doesn't take me out of it too much, because I'm usually just fleeing for my life most of the time to even notice. But it's a bit of a bummer.
It doesn't seem like a game, kind of combat-wise, that would hold you, Lucy. My experience with Souls games it's always been that the combat is not clunky, but is slow-moving. It's lots of looking at your status bars, making sure you've got you've you've blocked a couple of times with the shield, you've rolled away and your stamina's down, you can't do anything. Back off, back off, back off. Get a little bit, watch the pattern, cool, they've stopped. Slash, slash, slash. Move back. Defend, defend. Run away. Watch that pattern come in and attack. It's very, very slow.
It's very deliberate, yeah. I'm really enjoying it. I've always liked things with pattern recognition and stuff like that. Like, play bloody platformers and Metroidvania. So. The thing that, really put me off was the fact that it's like, okay, this is slow, and then I have to do it all over again. It was always the game design in the Souls games that put me off. And as I say, I probably hate it, like going into the same corridor, doing the same thing over and over again. It just drives me nuts. It's like, give me a checkpoint, and this game gives you checkpoints. So it's like, because you have the bonfires, and you also have these like statues of Marika or something. Matroska. I don't know.
Basically,
which is a checkpoint.
Basically, places where it's going to be hard in the open world rather than in the caves and dungeons.
Right.
We'll have a spot where you're like,
they're also in the dungeons and caves.
Oh, really? Okay, so I haven't seen that much.
So like, when you die, and it gives you the option, do you want to go back to the bonfire? Do you want to go to this checkpoint? And it's like the checkpoint is like sometimes right outside the boss in the dungeon or whatever. So it's like, and I like that. It's like, don't make me play the same thing over and over again. And if you do, like, let these things like go a bit quicker. I don't want to go for it down the same corridor for an extra half an hour.
The idea that you know, and I know, Lucy, you didn't get on with Death's Door as much as kind of I did, but Death's Door I think is a very good example of kind of unlocking critical paths. So going through,
that's what made that game tolerable.
Fighting all of the enemies and getting to a point where you're like, oh, now I can just put this ladder down, and there's where the save point was, or where I entered the thing. So actually now I don't have to do any of that again. Even if I die and I go back to that point, I come back through the door, I can just climb up the ladder and crack on from there. That game nailed its kind of checkpoint system.
And this game has the same thing where it's like, okay, I've opened up this door and or I drop down this ladder or whatever. So,
It's
no, carry on.
I was just gonna say the exploration, the figuring things out is great. The reason why,
fantastic.
So it took me, like, I have to admit, because I was kind of tired after first of all, streaming that game wasn't great because obviously you're paying attention to more things and you need to, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're like, this dog killed me again. Cool. I do think so it's interesting. I'm curious about the next 10, 20 hours I'll play, because there are some runs to your body that are like, and I think what I need to learn is that's a good indication that I shouldn't keep bashing my head against that spot, because I
that's not what you're meant to do.
Because
go up and level up and do.
It's like 2,000 runes. I should probably go back for that, but then I'm like, I'm here. I might as well try and do that thing again. Oh, I died. I have to run back, and that's the only time I've been frustrated. And I think it's the game mechanic teaching me do something else. And what's great about this game is you could do something else. However, I will say that if you happen to, so mild spoiler alert, but if you go east, if you miss the guy and go to the Dragon Lake and then find some ruins and figure out combat by beating up very easy to kill zombies, and then suddenly dogs come at you and you're like, fuck, what? Oh, I guess I need to learn how to parry or dodge because these things are fucking me up. And then you go down into a basement and you kill some rats and they're like, oh, packs, shit. Okay, cool. I've learned how packs work, and you can get refreshed on potions, flasks, by killing a whole pack. Neat. Oh, and there's a treasure chest. Don't open the treasure chest.
Maybe, be a bit afraid about this.
I got teleported to a very terrible place because it was a trap chest, and I got one-shotted by everything in that cave and had to.
You run out of that place.
I had
as
to
quick as you
figure
can.
out how to run out of that cave, and then run out of that cave, and then I was like, a new place. But what was interesting was it was clearly higher than my level, but I killed a few mobs when I was
Nice.
there. I picked up a zombie dog I could summon, but what I didn't know, because I hadn't learned enough of the game, because again, this was before I could level up.
Yes.
I didn't know a lot about the game, but in the dungeons you can't teleport away, and I swear it's a bug. I really want to look at the VOD now, but I left the cave, I got out of the cave, and then it told me I couldn't teleport again, so I thought I was fucked, and I ran and I found a new bonfire, and I'm pretty sure either I misread the map or whatever, but it didn't tell me I could teleport back home.
Should be
I
able
still
to.
had I should have been able to. I don't know if it was
Unless
a bug.
you're underground.
Yeah, I think it was a bug, because I swear to God I remember opening the map and it having the red X on everything. Like, what do I do here? And so I
Oh, you have to be like in an open world. You can't be like in a tunnel or.
I wasn't.
In a cave.
Yeah. I
Oh,
wasn't.
if you were like in the grass or whatever outside of that
I
tunnel.
found an
or whatever.
entirely new bonfire and it still didn't let me teleport.
Oh, weird.
And then I died, and then it let me teleport again afterwards, because I just tried it. But it was confusing, and it's possible that I just opened the map and thought I saw the red markers on the things and didn't, or I'm misremembering. But that's one of the problems with onboarding. But also, that was really
it's
cool.
like, is this
and
a feature or is it a bug? And you're
I
not
think
sure,
yeah.
and
So
that's
I was just saying, as long as you could have left as soon as you left the cave, which I swear I checked, but maybe I was like 2 steps in the cave or whatever. That was really cool, and it was stupid, and it sucked, and I lost all my progress. But I was in a new place, and there was a giant poison beast boss thing, and then there was a dog, and then I found out I could summon a dog, but I still hadn't unlocked summons, so I just had his ashes to add to my ash collection. But it was neat, and that's what I liked about the game, was like, even I was doing nothing. I didn't kill a single thing. I was getting beat up, and I found my way out of a cave into a crazy looking place.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked up a few things I could maybe craft with, and I picked up a consumable, and it was neat. And I killed a few mages in this new town that I want to go back to now, because I was killing them with my level 1 ass, or level 9 to 7, or whatever the prisoner starts with. And I actually learned how to combat better because I didn't think I could leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh wait, I can leave. Cool. That's a really neat experience that I definitely would not have done if I had looked up. Even if it was a bug, I'm sure if I saved and went back in, the bug would have been gone or whatever. And like, this is why I really have been pushing back against looking it up, because it sucked. And then I got home, and then I killed the easy guys, and they were way easier.
Yeah. Yeah. There are lots of times in this game where it's like, teaches you, just run, just get on your horse and run. You know, don't bother. And it's like, I've done that so many times, and it's funny every single time, where I just run past the boss, pick up this item, and then just run out of it.
Run away.
But yeah, I mean, like, the world design. I mean, I've always loved like the character designs in these games.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was like, oh man, I wish I wanted to play Bloodborne or something like this, because like all these like weird eldritch Geiger-esque monsters that are just roaming these lands. It's like, I just want to experience it. I just want an art book of these games, because they're so good. And like all of these monster designs, and like the way the world is designed, like the landscapes and the structures, and this is good environmental storytelling. This game doesn't have a story, but it's like, okay, I can fill in the blanks myself. They're all going to be wrong, because God knows what the lore is in this game, but it doesn't matter. It's like, I don't know what the story is. I don't care. It's a lot about fingers and fingering, from what I can. It's got a lot. It's got
fingers
a lot.
Are big in this.
Yeah, it's got a lot. Something about. Okay, there's a George R.R. Martin.
A game called Elden Ring is all about
got a lot of
fingering.
Yep, it's got a lot of finger stuff. It's very weird.
It is remarkably odd.
but the landmarks in distance are like, can I go there? And it's like, yes, you can. It's like, this is just like a sense of awe that you don't get in games, and it is a tour de force. It's a brilliant game. It's one of the best games ever made. You know.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, I
is.
have to say that like that sense of awe. The first time I had it was, I think, the first time I got on a horse in Assassin's Creed 1, when the notion of a world was novel. But that isn't the case now. And the thing is, there's stuff and different environments, and I don't get the notion of sameness, and even just the idea that you do have icons on your map, but they don't show up on your HUD.
No.
You open up your map, and it's like, I've written down there's a bonfire here. Otherwise, it's just a map.
Yeah.
And I can put a marker, and it'll help my compass. That's it. And because of that, you have to store in your own memory a little bit more, and it makes you feel more connected to the world. But also, the world is different. Even me, I'm in their starting area, and it's basically the grasslands and some caves, and then a couple mountainy bits. Even then, it still feels way more diverse, even though I'm in this one area, than most open world games.
Yeah. The start of the game, Limgrave, like that opening area, it's like, I've been back there like after hour 60. I've literally just come back there through this route, and it's like, I had no idea this was there. How did I miss this? And it's like, and that's a starting area. I probably haven't covered everything. Like, even in the dungeons, you might not see everything in the dungeon, because it's like there's so many little different paths to go down.
You're not 100%ing the area as you move through it.
It'd be impossible to. But and it's you liken it to an Assassin's Creed, Aadil? I liken it to like GTA 3, like when it's like, this is like one of the first open worlds. It's like, what is the possibility? I've never seen this before.
And I think the reason why I said Assassin's Creed, because I thought GTA 3, but then I realized GTA 3 is like a city, and it has its own boundaries. And there was something about leaving in Assassin's Creed 1, leaving the first town and being like, I'm riding into the prairies looking for somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And you had this notion of, this is where I'm supposed to go. What if I didn't? And it turns out you had to, right? Because it was a technically limited game. In this, I literally was like, missed the guy and went to a different place, found a dragon, found some rats, got teleported to a bullshit area and didn't know what to do, and saw these these enemies that were like one-shotting me with like projectiles. Actually, I think it was like 2 shots, but it was like stun and then die, right? They're like these weird, like, think of a prawn with legs and all, but on the front of the carapace is a bunch of little baby hands.
Yeah.
Just like
a weird shrimp.
Two lines of baby hands. It's gross.
They're like the South Park crab people, if crabs are shrimps. But it's this all kinds of, like, every single like enemy is like different in this game. It's like they're all so nasty. But and you're right, Aadil. It's like, this is like, what is the possibility of the game? Because it's a weird fantasy land. There's no barriers. They can do anything. Whereas, like, you know, GTA and Assassin's Creed are like, okay, New York and Italy. They're not going to go down into, like, I don't know, the pits of hell or whatever. Yeah.
You don't fight a hand with a face on it, which would seem
probably
possible.
There's a hand with a face in this game?
No, I don't know. There might be, but it seems very possible.
There's a lot of hands and fingers, so yeah. But I think what I liken it to most, because a lot of people, you know, rightly so, you know, draw the Breath of the Wild comparison, because it is open. That was more of a physics-based sandbox. This is more of a, for me, an adventure with better dungeons, better combat. Even with no story, it's got a better story than Zelda. It's just better in every single way, in my opinion.
All of these open world games with no story.
But it reminds me of Shadow Colossus. That kind of, you're riding up, over a hill, and you see this massive beast in the distance, and you're like, well, what is this? Let me go hit it with my sword, and you die. But I think Skyrim's another good comparison. There's not as many systems, like role-playing systems, in this game. It's like the only way to interact with the world in Elden Ring is to kill things. Right. You're not stacking up cheese rolls, but it's like I think the medieval thing.
To the detriment
I got
of,
lost
like,
in that
NPCs,
game like I am in this.
there's no NPC. Wow, I mean, if they don't attack you, they'll probably sell you something. Like, that's basically it. Like,
Or just say weird things, and you're like,
I mean,
okay, yeah, I'll help you. I don't remember what you said, or there's no quest log,
So-
and I've got a notepad, and it looks like I'm the Zodiac killer
Yeah,
with all my weird notes.
oh,
Yes,
I'm not
yeah.
smart enough to write things down. I do my experience with RPGs in my life has taught me to always talk to them until they've run out of their dialogue tree, because
Point and clicks, yes.
because
Also-
even the first few NPCs you look to, even that fucking guy I missed for an hour and a half or whatever, like you need to talk to him 5 times before he's like, you're
Yeah.
maidenless. This is what this means. Go this way and find a maiden, and then you go that way and you get beat up by a giant troll who jumps off of a like top area because you weren't supposed to have gone there until you rested at the place to get your fucking
Horse.
horny
That is-
horse,
That
and
is
then
a-
you
it's
can
like a
run
goat
past the
horse.
guy.
That is where I learnt to just go. Like,
Yeah.
that point. And it's like, yeah, the world is so well designed.
It's
It's
great.
got that, like, yeah, it's got like that kind of classic Nintendo kind of thing where it's like, you're wondering, oh, can I go there? It's like, am I meant to go there? And it's like, the game rewards you every time you go around a parapet all the way, or like, go down these, this sheer cliff face that looks like you'll die if you fall down there, but it's like, no, there's actually a ledge there, and it's like, those can just lead into like completely different areas, or you might pick up a cool item and stuff like that. So yeah, it's tremendous. It's such a good game.
Amazing.
Yeah, I suspect we'll talk more about it in the future.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as
This
it
is-
stands,
Mhm.
I want to do more, and I'm the only thing that I'm really struggling with is like my brain being like, have I missed something?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to look things up. And like I'm actually okay with learning how bad I am at combat via brute force thus far. But like there are probably some simple things I'm missing and I could learn, and I'm not gonna say I'm never gonna look anything up, but I reserve the right to do that, obviously, as a human being who has free will. But like I am really, because it's such a vibrant world, I feel like, and like I love this sense of exploration. I love that I'm missing things and coming back and want to spend time. Until I feel bored with that world, I really don't want to look something up, because I know as soon as you look it up, you tunnel vision, right? It's like
Yes. Yeah.
it's like your daily commute. You don't notice things on the street because you're on autopilot. I feel like when you get a game fact that says it's this far, go here, it's the same idea. While the first time you go, like I was in Cornwall for a week and I drove through some places, and we drove a couple like stretches, kind of the same stretch a couple times. And the first time takes a while because it's novel. You're not sure how far, whatever, but you are noticing a lot. And and the second time, you're like, even though I should like go to a place, come back. On the way back, it's always quicker because you know more, but also you aren't paying attention. But actually, I am not playing this game to commute. I'm playing this game to experience its features, and one of its features is this world. So I really am fighting against the urge of being like, is there a way of doing this better? Like, how do I get more spells?
Yeah.
Because I don't, like, should I just find a better shield because my spell takes forever to cast and sometimes misses? This, like, blue sword that fires from the air. There's probably better spells, I guarantee you, for exactly what I want, and I really don't want to know, but also
You just want to discover. You want to find
Yeah,
them
but
and then
and I
use
think
them.
I'm fueling that completionist instinct of not wanting to miss anything
Mhm.
by kind of taking my time in the starting area and like doubling back and like, oh, I saw that cave entrance and I was totally unsure what to do because at that point I couldn't fucking level up. let's go back, right? Let's go back, and I've gone to 3 dungeons now that I had found in my wanderings, and now that I have a foothold on the game, both its combat and its basic mechanics. Yeah, you know what? I'll finish those, and when I'm done with those, I am gonna probably try and like learn this area a bit more, see if I've missed anything. Probably get teleported by another goddamn chest. Like, and also some guys I ran away from. It's like, okay, I get not great at combat in this game. I'm not good at this game, but maybe I can kill this guy again, right? And so that's the type of experience I want, which is not. I don't think I'll play this game with multiple builds or the people who are like, I want to try it this way. Like, I think if I make a mistake and like actually I should have gone super parry build, I'll just try and figure that out on the fly. I don't, because I'm really enjoying the discovery, etc., and I think that's what I want to extract the most out of this game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you at a point? Lucy had played a fair chunk, has a decent amount of hours into it. Are you at a point, Aadil, where it's captured you enough that you will kind of eschew all other, apart from maybe like first looks for sort of the stream and things? Is this the game that is pulling you in? Do you want to go back to it? Are you sat here now chatting about it, thinking, I'm going to play it when we finish talking?
100% that, yeah. And I wasn't earlier today, but I did some work. Like, I'm just doing some like copy editing for a job, and I was like, I do Pomodoro, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, and it's like I can't really do much in 5 minutes. On my long break, maybe I'll play some Elden Ring, and then I played a few hours, and it was like, and then it was 7:40, and I died on a dungeon, and I was like, could I get further in the dungeon before having to leave for the podcast at 8? Probably. No, turn it off. Like, yeah, I've definitely, and I think the key is, I made peace with the fact that I need to figure the game out.
Yeah.
And like we said before, like a large part of that is being okay with dying, because that's kind of part of the game, and like sometimes it's better to die because you're gonna have to refill your flasks, and like you killed those guys and they didn't give you the flask, like they weren't a pack.
Yep.
And so you're actually now in the middle of nowhere, and it's like, I don't have a lot of health, like whatever, so I'm gonna have to teleport back or whatever, like things like that. Like I maybe there's a way of, I'm sure there's mechanics that will allow me to like not have to stop so often and refill or whatever, or maybe just getting better. But like I get a sense that like this pacing right now is okay. Well, now I'm gonna stop and leave and come back, and actually, if I can't get further, maybe find somewhere else to throw my energy.
Yeah,
because there are lots of places. There was like, I went in this valley after the skeletons dropped down on me, and there was a guy. It's like this weird guy in all red just appears, and it's like, this guy's has entered the fray or whatever, and just owned me. And I was like, that's
another player, right?
Yeah, except I think it was. It seemed.
Sometimes it isn't. It's not really.
I think it wasn't, because every time I went to pick up my runes, and then someone would teleport right there and kick my ass.
Yeah.
But so
it's
I think
not for me, because I get those as well.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
So,
like
but I'm playing offline. Yeah, but sometimes it's just the computer. It's not clear.
I think it's part of the, like, you have to deal with these things. Like, maybe it was part of the onboarding. I don't know. But what ended up happening was I figured out how to, like, it seemed like an AI. It had a pattern. And so I was doing well. And then a guy in orange appeared, and then Alt helped kick his ass. I'm like, could you why did you appear once I figured this guy out? Could you have appeared the first couple times? But like, okay, that's cool. That was weird.
Yeah, I don't really get that, to be honest, but yeah.
But like, there's enough going on when I wander around that like, and the thing is, he kicked my ass in like 2 hits almost, like the first time, and yeah, you can figure some of the stuff. Like there are patterns, and some of it is very generic. I think this is what I didn't get without people talking about Souls likes. Like, you have to learn the pattern of each enemy. Yeah, but most enemies have similar patterns, or at least your reaction is similar.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's not like, and this is a guy who forgets that he can hit left on the D-pad to put his shield on so he can block.
I always have my shield.
Yeah.
Go into every cave just holding my shield.
Well, Lucy, what kind of final thoughts for the evening?
I'm very much like I every waking hour I just want to play this game. Dreaming about this game.
Yeah.
Just want to play more of it.
It's consumed you that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really smitten by it. I'm very close to it because I'm still playing it. Maybe I'll sour on it late. Well, not sour, but like maybe not have such glowing thoughts later. But it's like one of those games. Even if I don't finish it, I've just had such a whale of a time. Yeah.
Just the fact that it's gripped you for this long, or this quickly.
Yeah. 70 hours and counting. So I just want to play it. So.
Yeah. Good.
Bye.
Yeah, it's a good place for us to finish for this week, so the two of you can go and play some more Elden Ring, and listener, you can get back to playing Elden Ring. It feels like a game that you could listen to a podcast.
Oh yeah, I do that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna. What's interesting is I wasn't sure about that, but actually, it's the one complaint I might have is if I'm like having to grind against a thing because I'm just not figuring out how to like kill that stupid boss or whatever. I find it actually easier to have a podcast or something in the background than
I'm not so afraid. I don't have so much dread sometimes going into a dark cave whenever there's a podcast. It honestly makes me feel like playing a Resident Evil. Yeah, like a Resident Evil game because it's like, what is that howling I can hear? Why is it so dark? Yeah,
that's fair. Good. I mean, it sounds amazing from all accounts, from the both of you, from the other things that I've heard. Elden Ring is sounding like it is.
I think,
a very hard game to top for this year. It's doing a lot.
I don't know what would unseat it. It'd be something that just comes out of left field. I don't think God of War could do it because it's just going to be like. Ooh. As much as as good as God of War is, it's kind of a known quantity. You know, and I don't care about those characters.
They can't do something that ambitious because there'll be people who revolt. If it's too much of a change.
People revolted against, you know, when it was like, oh, we're doing behind the camera thing, and then they ate their words because it was a fantastic game. But I don't really care about those characters, so the story won't really have an impact on me. And it's a known quantity. Like, I love the gameplay in the first one. That's the only thing that I can imagine that comes close. If it's
this year.
The Silk Song is coming out in 2028, so we won't have to worry about that.
Don't think.
Did you see that they changed the? Someone said that's earlier than I expected, but. But apparently the Steam API got updated and placeholder dates, and that was February 2028. It's
Jesus Christ.
I see it. So yeah, I'll be dead before then, so it doesn't really matter.
I mean, will anyone be alive?
No. But I've got Elden Ring to play till the end of time, so it won't really matter. Yeah.
Good. If you listener would like to hit us up about your thoughts about Elden Ring, or any other games that you think are maybe genre defining or change a genre in specific ways that you think we should go back to and play, or at least investigate in some kind of way, you can go to Twitter or the various social media outlets and go to @TankedUpCast, or come and hit us up on our Facebook page, which is the Out of Lives Network Facebook page. You can go to outoflives.net to look at what everyone else is producing over there, or see our beautiful faces under the podcast post, and of course the beers that we're drinking as we show them on camera whilst we are pouring/drinking them. You can also go to your podcast service of choice, leave us a little rating, little review. That always helps to boost us that little bit. You can go to YouTube as well, which is Out of Lives, and subscribe, comment, come and chat to us there, or hit one of us up for details on the Discord and come and chat to us whenever you like. I'm @Nova_47. Lucy is
Choose not.
And Aadil is.
At the Omniarch.
They're all the places that we inhabit. They're the beers that we've drank. They're the games that we've played. Did we talk about the beers? Wait a minute. Did we talk about the beers?
No,
We
you
didn't
sort of wrap
talk
up, but
about
I was going to
beers.
let it go.
Just a quick 1 minute on your beer.
Hey, good.
Perfect.
Oh, sorry, a minute. Hold on. Hey, I really liked it. It basically, that acridness tamed down. So did the tropicalness, where, I mean, like the slightly more fruity bit. It all evened out in a way that wasn't boring. I don't want to say that's negative, but it just like made it much easier to drink and sip. And like, again, 330ml can, and I finished it sort of on the hour.
Okay.
Very easy to sip and enjoy. Lovely finish, so I'm still tasting it now. Good, yeah, solid beer. Definitely would recommend tracking down a Nesta.
Perfect. Good. And this export stout from Left-Handed Giant, the brew pub, is lovely. It's nice. You don't get that sweetness that maybe more modern porters kind of have, but it's full of coffee, full of roasted notes, full of hazelnut as well, and the flavour was consistent all through the beer. Nothing kind of faded. Everything was still as big as it was at the start of the beer. So that punchy, lovely hazelnut flavour came through as much towards the last few drops as it did at the start of the beer as well. The bitterness, perhaps that kind of, at least in my mind, unquantifiable bitterness that was coming through, that mellowed a little bit. And it was more those, as I say, those coffee and those hazelnut notes that sort of stuck around. But yeah, solid beer from Left-Handed Giant there. So yes, they are the beers that we have drank, and that's the games that we've been playing. We will catch you very, very soon for another week. We've been tanked up. Goodbye.
Bye.
www.outoflives.net